Morris. He's well known for his funny car models. They're 16th scale. He's the Sultan of 16th. Why 16th scale?
I just happened to start building in 16th scale, and they're more realistic to me, I suppose. If I could own a real one, I'd own a real one, but I like the paint, and it's more surface to paint, and you get detail. The details do stick out more, and it's a rare scale. There's not a lot of 16th scale left around, and there's very few parts. More and more parts are becoming available aftermarket.
Well, do you think with the advent of 3D printing that's expanding?
Yes.
I mean, there's
yes,
just
that
more and more
tremendously.
available.
Yeah, that tremendously helps out.
There's such a dedicated group in that scale. You know, I talk to a lot of guys that are like, no, it's the perfect scale for detailing. Better than 24th, it's a little bigger. It's not like a massive project like 12 scale would be.
Right, it's in between. It's kind of left over. In the early 70s, Revell did the 16th scale funny cars, and Aurora did a 16th scale in funny cars, and then it disappeared. And 16 just faded away. And then Atlantis purchased the 16th and as well as the smaller scales from Revell, and they did repop this particular Vega model, and the 16th scale guys went crazy and berserk to buy it, to go, because there's not a lot left around. You got to pay a lot of money. It's expensive to get the car. There's not a lot of aftermarket, but as you said, with the 3D printing, it is opening up wide. There's a lot of resin bodies available for 16th. It's like a group upon a group, and certain guys are manufacturing even tires now, rims. The ones that are machining aluminum rims are doing them in 16th scale now, and it's becoming more and more popular, it seems. Not just in the funny car category, but 16th scale in general. There's a lot of guys want to see some dragsters. That's the one thing that hasn't been reissued, like that green funny car, so to speak.
Yeah, they were out there originally.
Yes, and along with the funny cars, late 60s, 69, and 70, early 70s, and then once they ended towards the mid 70s, that was it. And all we have to work with is the older ones. These are all resin bodies except for this. This is a plastic body. This is a resin body, and a resin body. And the Atlantis model is just identical to the Revell. It came right from the Revell mold.
And that Revell tooling back in the day was perfect.
Yes.
I think now it's still regarded as just a good starting point for...
It absolutely is. They had posable steering, the wheels rolled. The only other company, which was Aurora, that was doing it, but it was a separate project unto itself. What basically happened is a lot of guys thought it was more of a toy type of thing than a model, because what would happen in one of their kits is they would give you clear lenses to go over the headlamps and tail lamps, where everything was airbrushed.
Sure.
And so a lot of guys, to them it was more of a toy, the way they put their program together, where Revell it wasn't. It was pure funny cars, what it was.
And those bodies and that painting, that Youngblood artwork was just
phenomenal.
So cool.
Yes.
You can look at that all day.
Yes, phenomenal.
Just
that was the name.
Canvas, you could walk around it.
Yep, that was the name. Him and Don Kirby. Well, like Kirby was where they worked on him, but the Youngblood artwork was second to none. He was very well known. Very well known. The Corvettes are stretched chassis. This isn't. This is stretched, and this is stretched, and these have forward-mounted fuel cells where they are in front of the axles, where the original kits, the fuel tanks were behind the axle with a straight axle. This has control arms, and this has control arms, and this was considered state-of-the-art steering, where it works off a bell crank, where this would be the original style steering in a funny car. These two, and these are run on bell cranks, because everything was moved back, and fire bottles and fuel cells moved forward.
tell like the era of what year each car was just by simple details like
Yes,
that.
yes,
Yeah, I mean,
correct.
there's probably not even a 10-year stretch between the oldest technology with the straight axle or the
Correct.
solid axle, and then with this. where
Correct.
it's, you're using the fuel tank for the weight.
Weight. Yeah, that's correct. And the fire bottles, everything moved forward off of the column, off of the steering wheel, inside the cockpit and everything.
Paint-wise,
Paint-wise, I use all house of color paint with automobile paint, with clear urethane. Sometimes I cut it back and buff it, sometimes not. Some of the decals are stock decals, some of them are painted. This actually was a 24th scale decal from a Revell kit that I made myself, enlarged, and then it came off of, I believe, his Monza. But I designed it and put it on the Corvette. And all the bodies have been lowered, even like this body here. Revell had a tendency, it was a beautiful setup, but the body sat high on the chassis. So on the hinge plates, what I do is I notch the hinge plates and lower the body down, which means all the interior tin work has to be cut and re-angled and everything, because the body drops lower over the chassis is what happens. And it takes a little bit of trial and error, fit and templates to get everything to fit just right. So when the body closes, everything matches the angle of the chassis, the upper tube of the chassis. For the most part, I like to move the oil filters. The oil filters normally are on this side of the chassis, and they sit inside. I move them out of the way and move them to the right side. It gives a nice effect. You can see them. It's very impressive to it. They sit on the side and stick right out. It's a visual impact.
I love seeing them all together. They all sound great individually, but it's like something you'd see at the track before they're even staging or they're in line or in the pits. You just see all these flopper bodies.
Yeah, I would have had this one judged and this one judged, but because in 19, the inaugural show, this won this class, large scale class, and this got a third, so it's not eligible under the already won rule. So, but I brought him to show anyways because that car did win last weekend of the show in a big class, and it was in with a bunch of 24th scale. It was all the scales together, close competition, which means fenders over the wheels, not open wheel, and did fairly well with that. That's my favorite one, actually, that Chelsea King. A lot of people don't know that car only ran 2 or 3 years and belonged to Kenny Bernstein before the Budweiser sponsorship. He almost lost that whole deal, and then he had one more crack at it. They were in St. Louis at a race. He was going to race John Force, and what happened was it was a rain out, and on a Monday morning, they packed everything up. They went to St. Louis, unloaded the car from the truck and trailer, set it all up, and as the employees were coming to work, they saw this whole operation, and Kenny went up to talk to the guy, and he said, "Jesus, Kenny, I didn't know you were going to bring all this," and that was the last straw. That sold them, and they put a deal together, a small deal, and the rest was
Major history.